Welcome to the Invite Health Podcast, where our degreed healthcare professionals are excited to offer you the most important health and wellness information you need to make informed choices about your health. You can learn more about the products discussed in each of these episodes and all that Invite Health has to offer at www.invitehealth.com/podcast. First-time customers can use promo code podcast at checkout for an additional 15% off your first purchase. Let's get started.
Traveling for business or pleasure right now is certainly a riskier thing to be doing, but sometimes it is a required thing and you don't have a choice. You have to go out for business. You have to travel perhaps to go see a family member who is not well. And we certainly recognize that in doing so, you want to make sure that you are well prepared. We are into cold and flu season, plus still dealing with the pandemic. So I want to go over a few different little tips for you today as to how best to travel safe with your supplements and what supplements you should really make sure that you are including. And this is regardless if you're traveling or not, but certainly if you are traveling, you definitely want to make sure that your immune system is prepared and that if you do indeed have any type of an exposure to the common cold or flu or, COVID-19, that your immune system is at the ready as best as it possibly can. So I'm Amanda Williams, MD, MPH, and we know that a lot of people are changing their plans this year for holidays. People are not perhaps going on vacations like they would like to be, and it's not a fun time for all of us. We get that, but we also have to keep in mind that we want to be safe and we want to do things in a way to minimize our exposure as well as minimizing exposure to others. So that's why, practicing safe social distancing, practicing, good hand washing and wearing your mask when you are out and about is certainly important. But you also want to make sure that your immune system is armed and ready to go in the event that we do have any type of an exposure. So what are the basics? What should we be thinking about during this time? Well, we always want to think first and foremost is just really simple things that we know we can do each and every single day. Staying hydrated, making sure that we are taking in adequate fruits and vegetables every single day to really bolster up our antioxidant defenses. But we also have to think about other nutrients. And one in particular that comes to mind is the Immunity HX. And the reason why I kind of hone in on the Immunity HX is this is so easy for you to incorporate in. So say if you have to travel in the next month or so, and maybe it's for business, maybe it is maybe you are going on vacation, you don't want to change your vacation plans. The Immunity HX is a blend, and it's all packed into one simple tablet per day of vitamin C, vitamin D, and zinc. And why are those so important? Because those are kind of like the glue that holds our immune system together. When we think about the important role that vitamins and minerals play, the micronutrients and the macronutrients that are the integral part of our immune defenses that our immune system so highly relies on, then taking a supplement such as the Immunity HX can really be incredibly supportive at this time. Now, the Immunity HX contains zinc, vitamin C, and vitamin D. Now, how much of each of those? Well, in one tablet, you are getting 500 milligrams of vitamin C. You are getting 2,000 international units of vitamin D, and you are getting 30 milligrams of zinc in one tablet. I can't stress this enough, the important role that all of these play in our immune system. Vitamin C, powerful antioxidant. We know that it's incredibly important to the true functionality of our immune system, both the innate and the adaptive immune system. And when we think about our lungs and our respiratory function, we know vitamin C is really valuable at this time. We know vitamin D is certainly required for the immune system in helping to regulate our immune responses. And then we look at zinc, and we know that zinc is required on so many different levels when it comes to proper immune system functionality in terms of the creation and the activation of immune system cells. So this is why taking the Immunity HX is a really, really good idea right now. But there are other nutrients. We also want to consider things like making sure our microbiome is healthy. Remember, 70% of our immune system is gut-based, meaning that the majority of our immune defenses is coming from the intestines. And so if we can make sure that we have good, healthy bacteria that are circulating and helping us with the proper absorption of the nutrients that we're taking in from our foods, those powerful antioxidants coming from the fruits and vegetables, for example, making sure that when we're taking Immunity HX, that we're actually absorbing that in a proper way, then those probiotic, those healthy little bacteria play a really incredibly important role into our immune defenses. So probiotic HX is a good option for you during these times. Now that's a multi-strain probiotic, meaning that it's not just one single isolated strain of a probiotic. It actually contains 5 different strains that have been used in human clinical trials to show not only that they absorb really good into our system, but they actually are providing us with a benefit. And when I say that in a sense, kind of sarcastically, because there's so many probiotics that are out there on the market that for the most part are kind of junk. They don't remain viable. And when I say that, I mean that when they make certain probiotics, and by the time they capsulate them, bottle them, and they sit around, they start to lose their strength. And those live bacteria begin to die off. So when you're taking it, you're actually not getting much of a benefit. Well, we know that that is not the case with our probiotic HX, and the way that it's actually created with those 5 different strains, and the way that we encapsulate that allows for that to remain highly viable even at room temperature, which is really important. This does not require refrigeration, so it's easy to take with you. So if you do have to travel, you just make sure that you take your probiotic HX bottle, put it into your carry-on, and away you go. I always tell people, if in the past, before the pandemic, if you were going to be coming to Florida and going on a cruise, make sure that, if you have 2 things with you, make sure you have nucleotides and make sure that you have probiotic. And the reason for that was pre-pandemic was always having the concern of the norovirus. And we know that noroviruses have a tendency to run fairly rampant on cruise ships. And so you want to make sure that you are well prepared for that. So having the probiotic and the nucleotide, that combination could really help the immune system for any unfriendly exposure that may come about from being on a cruise. But right now, we still have those potential exposures out there. So having that probiotic on board also really very important. We also look at the lactospore within our probiotic HX, and the lactospore is this spore-forming bacteria, and it is really very cool in terms of the way that has been clinically studied, and showing that this lactospore, this healthy bacteria strain that helps to colonize and it multiplies into additional healthy flora. So it's really laying down a good amount of these wonderful healthy bacteria to help to bolster up our immune defenses. And then I mentioned nucleotides. So nucleotides also very important. And when we think about what actually a nucleotide is, we have to kind of delve ourselves all the way back to potentially our high school biology class and think about genetics and think about the cellular DNA. And within that cellular DNA, most people can recognize that double helix, that structure of the genetic makeup. And we realize that within that double helix, we have these nucleic acids, these base pairs. So what the nucleotide supplementation is, it is those direct nucleic acids, which is really important because when we think about areas where we have to have good, healthy cell turnover, no place more important than when we think about our intestines. And this is why they have even utilized the nucleotides in neonatal departments when you have a premature baby that has an undeveloped immune system. By giving them those nucleic acids, it helps to further enhance their immune system's ability to kind of strengthen up and fend things off. So we know this just from the science alone on nucleic acids, but we also know that nucleic acids can help at that cellular level when it comes to the generation of energy. So kind of you're yielding this double benefit when you include nucleic acids into your daily routine. So not only for the immune boosting ability, but also for the energy promoting ability and property that those nucleic acids have. And it makes sense because we're talking about all the cells in the body that require those nucleic acids. And so for proper cell function, one of the most important functions within the cell is the generation of ATP, or adenosine triphosphate. So if we can enhance that cell energy production, then we are doing quite well. So we talk about this time of year where we have the concerns with the potential exposure to cold, flu, COVID-19, and we want to make sure that our cells are at the ready. And so the nucleic acids coming from the nucleotide complex is a really good thing to have on board. I will just say for myself, in the past when I felt like I was kind of coming down with something a couple of years ago, I had kind of that scratchy throat and just kind of felt lethargic, a little fatigued. That feeling that starts to hit you like, I just don't feel 100%. Well, as soon as that hit me, I right away started taking my nucleotide complex, and I actually was taking 3 capsules 3 times a day. So it may seem like a lot, but I really wanted to make sure that I was getting those nucleic acids into the system to help with that cell turnover and making sure that my cells had that ability to generate that energy, but also to help boost up my immune defenses. And it's really quite remarkable how well that has worked for me in the past. I also would include into that mix either the green tea TX or the white tea TX, both of those packed with those powerful polyphenols that come from tea extract. So we're talking about the EGCG, that epigallocatechin gallate, which we know has been studied across the spectrum when it comes to things like influenza, for example, and realizing it's not just the antioxidant value within EGCG. We also realize that EGCG plays a really strong component in the downregulation of the way that our immune system can overreact and create a situation where we have a hyperactive inflammatory response. So this is why I always include those into that arsenal. So we want to make sure we have that Immunity HX on board, which is going to give you the vitamin C, vitamin D, and zinc. We want to make sure that we include good, healthy probiotics. So the probiotic HX, having that on board, looking at how we support all cells throughout the body with those nucleotides, the nucleotide complex. And say if you were utilizing the nucleotide complex just more as a way as a precautionary, then you would probably take 1 to 2 per day. I had mentioned that when I felt kind of that scratchy throat and that sense of fatigue hitting me a couple of years ago, I went with a much higher amount. And I would certainly encourage you to do so if you do start feeling a little under the weather, is to make sure that you increase the amount of nucleotide complex that you're taking. How much should you take? It really kind of depends. And I would certainly encourage you to reach out to one of our nutritional experts at Invite Health who would be able to give you the best guidance based off of your current health concerns that you have. How much should you take? At what time of day should you take them? That's the information that they can certainly assist you with. And then we also want to think about the teas. So the green tea, the white tea, TX, those are both really good things to have on board. And what's nice about those is you take, I usually would advise 2 full droppers of the green tea TX or the white tea TX and add that in with somewhere, 4 to 6 ounces of water, which you can drink at room temperature. You can drink it cold. You can, have it hot, like hot tea. However you prefer is just fine. It's not going to somehow impact or neutralize the potency of the actual EGCG within either one of those. Now, keep in mind, it's not just about the immune system. Think about all the other benefits that you can yield by having the green tea or the white tea on board. We know that both of those have been shown, both green tea and white tea have been shown to be beneficial when it comes to thermogenesis. So when we think about making our fat cells want to naturally start to burn off. So even having those on board can be beneficial when we think about maintaining healthy weight. So a lot of different ways in which we get a double effect, a double positive when it comes to taking these nutrients in. So obviously we have to pay attention to staying hydrated. We want to make sure we're getting good healthy foods in. We want to make sure that we are covering our bases with just the bare minimum when it comes to the immune system and the vitamins and minerals that the immune system really requires. So that vitamin C, vitamin D, and zinc. Making sure that we're helping our microbes, that microbiome, having those good healthy bacteria on board, and that probiotic HX containing that lactospore, that really unique form of bacteria that actually helps to recolonize and helps to create even more healthy bacteria once it's into the system. And then having the nucleic acid. So it is a very simple way to go about enhancing our immune defenses. So if you do have to travel, I said for work, or if you have to go take care of a family member, or for whatever reason, you have to be out and about and have that potential exposure to everything that's kind of floating around in the environment now with cold, flu, and COVID-19 out there, you want to make sure that your immune system is, as I mentioned, at the ready. And that's just kind of a simple way to do that. So how would you do this routine? Well, I would take my green tea TX, my white tea TX, and I would start my day off with that. Put 2 full droppers into the water. And then when you have breakfast, healthy breakfast, remember that. So not the bagels or the donuts. We want to make sure that we are having a healthy breakfast. So maybe eggs with some vegetables, maybe a good idea. But we can also look at things like oatmeal with some berries and some nuts, for example, might be a good option as well. Then at that point in time, we're going to want to do our Immunity HX. We're going to just take 1 tablet to cover those bases. So 1 tablet of that Immunity HX. And then we want to add in our nucleotide complex. So 1 capsule, if you want to do 2 capsules, that's fine too. 1 to 2 capsules of the nucleotide complex. And then we want to make sure that we're taking that probiotic. I usually advise people to take the probiotic in the evening, so either with dinner or you can take it at bedtime on an empty stomach. The power of this probiotic doesn't require that it be taken with food. So if you want to take it on an empty stomach, that's certainly fine as well. And the reason why I say nighttime is our intestines are generally in a more relaxed state at night. So if we take our probiotic HX 1 capsule in the evening, that's a really good routine. So we have our tea, we have our Immunity HX, we have our nucleotides, we have our probiotic at bedtime, and that really sets you up to allow the immune system that extra capability to enhance our natural immune system's way to fend off any type of a foreign invader. So that is all that I have for you for today. If you are going to be out and traveling, please be safe. Please be careful. Make sure that you wear your mask, wash your hands, and keep your distance as much as you possibly can till we all get through this. And I want to thank you so much for tuning in to the Invite Health podcast. Remember, you can find all of our episodes for free wherever you listen to podcasts or by visiting invitehealth.com/podcast. Now, do make sure that you subscribe and you leave us a review. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Invite Health. And we will see you next time for another episode of the Invite Health podcast.